things I think while I lie awake and contemplate tonight are wearing me out. Well, maybe tomorrow the world will wake and get it right, but I have my doubts, yeah. During the day, well, I design machines of war that scream through the sky. 'Cause I, for one, I like to go to bed free at night under these stars and stripes. And I have my doubts that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts, and I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. Yes, I have my doubts, but they'll wind you up and pull the cord until you're spun right out. And I don't understand. Roll the dice and raise the price to feed the machine's mouth. Call it the progress of man. And I have my doubts that we're coming out. Yes, I have my doubts, and I have my doubts that we'll make it back out. I have my doubts, so I'll drink my stuff and raise some hell and shoot my guns to the end of my time. You can have the booze and go to hell and take the guns, but I know they won't be mine. Messed up and out of touch, let's text someone who's in the other room. So don't wonder why we don't say hi or know anyone. I might as well move to the moon. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. So maybe I'm wrong. Well, I hope that I'm wrong. Well, the things I think while I lie awake and contemplate at night are wearing me out.
Good evening. I have to remember to change some more settings I forgot to change. So, show was a couple of minutes late. I have no idea. I don't know what it showed up for all of you, but for Jen, it showed that the show was going to be at 10 p.m. I have no idea what was up with that. I saw 8 p.m. on my screen, so that's all I know. What happened was sometimes I don't have a lot of patience. And when it comes to machines, whether it be electronic machines, mechanical machines, it makes no difference. When they don't work right, it irritates me, and I'm a bit OCD. And I had had enough this morning of waiting for the slow-ass Windows to boot up. Oh, it drove me up a frickin' wall. So I wiped my smaller SSD, formatted that puppy, threw my USB in for my Windows USB in, and went to town, man. And so I am about 90% migrated to a new operating system. And it is so nice to click that power button, and before 60 seconds is up, I am completely loaded up on my desktop, ready to do business. I like that. I got spoiled by that. So when I changed things up and I put Windows back on a hard disk, yeah, I was hating life. So got that fixed, thankfully. Like I said, I got about 90% of my software back installed and things swapped and taken care of. It's like a big task when I do this because I've got so much crap I use. And so hopefully everything's went fine with it. It seems to be doing great. So then tomorrow I'm gonna strip the desk down and get it all cleaned up. And then I'm going to get the feet off these monitors, get them back up on my stand that I had. It's just sitting right over behind me because I cannot stand this layout. I absolutely can't stand this layout. So be glad to get it back on my little pyramid tree there and get that done. So other than that, I've just been doing this stuff. I went into flight sim a few times. I still get a little bit dizzy and queasy in VR, so I try to hit it as much as I can when I can, because they say it goes away. It's just something that over a little bit of time, about a week or so usually, and you're done with it, you're good. So I'm still doing that, but it's hard in a plane sometimes, especially when you enjoy kind of whipping your head around, looking around and stuff like that. It doesn't take much to get that stomach going. And I'll tell you what, I think I forgot to mention this. The other day, I was playing that golf game, and it's got this the feature on the game where if you hit your trigger key, after you hit your ball, it'll take you to the current ball's location, regardless if it's in the air, on the ground, no matter what. It'll take you to the current ball's location. So I'm at the tee, right? And I hit one hell of a humdinger and accidentally hit the trigger key as it was in its apogee of flight. And it teleported me probably about 60 feet above the ground. I was like, holy shit. So I hurried up, closed my eyes real quick, and waited till I heard the ball hit the ground, and then I just hit the trigger again and opened my eyes. Man, that flipped me out. It happened to me yesterday. I think it was yesterday. Yeah, yesterday I was messing around with a helicopter, and I kind of got jerky on my stick, and when I did, everything just kind of went like this, and my vertigo started, and I mean, it's crazy. I love it though. I cannot believe how awesome it is. Again, I take a graphics hit, a pretty serious graphics hit. Everything doesn't look nearly as good as if I'm not in VR, but there is just nothing like having that three-dimensional. It's just mind-blowing. So really, really cool stuff. Let's see. Other than that, that's pretty much what I've spent my day doing. I've been trying to keep a toe in the water of the news, if you will. And it would appear that Ukraine has got some splaining to do. Well, not really. Not so much explaining, but they probably have some blood to spill over what was attempted today, or overnight. Yeah, I think we're reaching a point in this conflict in where Putin's about to take the gloves off. And when I say that, I don't mean just ramping up his attacks, the severity of the attacks, the amount of attacks, but I think he's also going to really go after Kiev. I think he's going to make a point. After what transpired overnight, which was an assumed assassination attempt on Putin via drones, I don't think that's going to go over too well. And keep your eyes peeled. I think there's going to be some crazy happenings very soon, maybe even tonight. So, lots of different stuff in the news today. So, again, I've tried keeping up with the best of it that I can while doing updates and this, that, the other thing, installing programs. And I even forgot to put the side back on my computer. It's still sitting over there. I just noticed that a moment ago when I was getting a USB cord. I was like, oh, hell, I got to put the side back on. So I got some thermal paste that should be here tomorrow. And I've got an issue, and it's happened to me in Flight Sim one time, and that's just since VR. But it's happened to me about 3 times using Adobe Media Encoder. And I actually had to limit the amount of memory that Adobe could use because I was getting a blue screen. And when I would boot back up, I'd get a warning that it shut down because of CPU temperature. Now, I get that I've got a stock heatsink cooler on my processor, but it is the AMD, what do they call it? The Wrath Prism cooler or whatever. It's well more than enough for the purpose. So I think I didn't get the thermal paste quite right when I seated the heat sink onto the processor, and that can happen. You could be off a little bit and then pick your heat sink back up, but you've already transferred enough of the paste, and they only give you a very, very, very little thin layer of paste. So if you mess up in the least, yeah, you need more paste. So anyway, I don't actually have a single tube of it, so I've got a tube that'll be here tomorrow. And so I'm going to pop my CPU cooler off and give her another dab and reseat it and see if that takes care of the issue. If it don't, then I'm going to be looking into if I've got an issue otherwise. Maybe, or maybe it could just simply be what the setting is in the BIOS to kick in. So I may just need to change that. So who knows? I'm going to do the best thing first, which is add a little bit more paste. That's not going to hurt nothing. And then, and if that still doesn't fix the issue, then I'll look at what the settings are. Normally, I leave things like that stock. I leave it default. I don't normally change things like that in the BIOS because it's usually set at a default for a purpose. So I like to leave it default. I don't overclock. I don't do any of that nonsense. If the computer was supposed to run that fast, it would have been built that fast. I don't need to be overvolting anything, and no thank you. Let's see. I don't know of anything else to talk about, because like I said, I spent pretty much of the day redoing Windows and hopping in Flight Sim here and there, and that's about it. So let me just hop on in, and we'll get this done out of here, and we'll get out of here. We'll close up our Wednesday, then one more day, and then the end of the week. And I can't wait for that. I don't know why, but I have a feeling I'm going to spend a little bit of time. If my stomach can hack it, I'm going to be spending a bit of time in the simulator, and especially tweaking it out and making it operate a little smoother, because they say you can tweak for days when it comes to that. So I be tweaking, but not in that kind of way. So, alright, bring you guys along might be a nice thing to do. Press freedom declining worldwide, says report. No, I can't say I've noticed. Journalists are facing threats and hostility on YouTube. In more countries than ever before, according to this year's World Press Freedom Index. However, the report condemns non-Western governments for clamping down on press freedom while ignoring violations in the EU and North America. Published every year by Reporters Without Borders, the World Press Freedom Index analyzes legal and physical threats to journalists to rank the level of press freedom in 180 countries. This year's index describes the situation in 31 countries as very serious, up from 28 last year. Only in 8 countries is the situation described as good, a number unchanged since last year. Norway took first place in the 2023 index for the 7th year in a row, followed by Ireland in second and Denmark in third. 9 of the top 10 countries are EU states, while a number of prominent murders and the ongoing closure of local news outlets brought the U.S. down from 42nd place to 45th. Canada took 15th place, while the UK came in 26th. The major non-Western powers, Russia, China, and India, all placed below 160th, as did Iran, Saudi Arabia, and much of the Middle East and Asia. However, while Reporters Without Borders placed Russia in 164th place for censoring stories about its military and restricting foreign media outlets, it elevated Ukraine from 106th place last year to 79th this year, higher than Greece and Serbia and 5 places behind Hungary. The index describes Ukraine as the front line of resistance against the expansion of the Kremlin's propaganda system and makes no mention of Kiev's outright banning of opposition media, which was condemned last year by the European Federation of Journalists. Ukrainian President Vladimir Zelensky, who banned Russian news networks in 2021, enacted a law in December giving his government the power to fine, censor, or block all broadcasts, print, or online media outlets in Ukraine. The European Union's blanket ban on Russian outlets like RT and Sputnik is also omitted from the organization's report. Further restrictions on Russian media in individual European countries are also omitted. For example, Estonia placed 8th on the list and was criticized only for the online cyberbullying of journalists and not for blocking access to 53 websites used by the country's sizable Russian minority to watch banned Russian TV channels. So yeah, it's messed up though, because I sit there and say, oh yeah, well there's definitely a problem here, but at the same time they're covering the problem. It's nuts. That I don't trust any of these organizations, agencies, or any of them because they're all bullshit. All about money, power, fringe benefits. Ukrainian counteroffensive has started, says Wagner. I can't say this headline for nothing. Wagner boss. And yeah, it's pronounced Wagner. I actually know that. Maybe. The head of the private military company Wagner Group, Yevgeny Prigozhin, said on Wednesday, yeah, you gotta kind of just completely wreck your mouth to say it, said on Wednesday that the Ukrainian forces had begun their counterattack in Artemovsk, known as in Ukrainian as Bakhmut, and are threatening to overwhelm his undersupplied troops. Wagner forces advanced more than 200 meters on Wednesday, sustaining 116 fatalities and leaving less than 3 square kilometers of the Donbass city in Ukrainian possession, Prigozhin said in an audio clip shared online. However, the PMC's leader then announced that the Ukrainian military has begun its counterattack with unlimited manpower and ammunition. Meanwhile, he painted a dire picture of Wagner's own situation, saying ammunition shortages are acute and his troops have enough rounds remaining for just a few days. The Russian Defense Ministry is refusing to issue artillery ammunition to Wagner, ignoring our every request, Prigozhin claimed. Wagner forces have been at the forefront of street fighting in Artemovsk, known by Ukrainians as Bakhmut, a key rail and road junction in Donbass. Kiev has funneled tens of thousands of soldiers to the city, even as Wagner and other Russian troops establish fire control over all of the supply roads, leaving the Ukrainians half surrounded. So, I'm not buying it. Not buying it. Not even for a second. You think that Wagner boss is going to be like, it's a really bad time to strike at us because we keep asking for ammunition and Russia won't give us any ammunition. So really, not right now. Wait until we can secure some ammunition before you attack us. That ought to be humorous. I'm just being real. That ought to be humorous. If they fall for it, they're really stupid. I mean, anytime you can get the enemy to come to you? Oh, hell. Ukrainian assassination attempt on Putin foiled, says Kremlin. Ukraine launched 2 drone attacks overnight intended to strike the Kremlin residence of Russian President Vladimir Putin. Here's the thing. Nobody knows what the what the numbers are, man. So even if the leaked number, nobody knows. Nobody knows. That is something that you will never, ever, ever hear the truth about during a war. And you probably never, ever hear the truth after the war, to be honest. But you'll never hear the truth about fatalities, casualties, and stuff like that, injuries, all that with this. Now, they will do everything they can to hold up civilian deaths, right? So that everybody sees the civilian deaths, but not troop deaths. They always try to kind of hide the troop deaths. So, and of course claim that the other side lost so much more. So, and they're both doing it. So Ukraine's doing it, Russia's doing it. You know, it's. I don't think there's ever been a war in the history of mankind that hasn't been that way. So, let's see. The aircraft were downed using electronic warfare measures and caused no casualties or damage, according to a presidential administration statement. Moscow considers the incident an act of terrorism. The attack occurred late on Tuesday night, and both unmanned aircraft fell on the grounds of the Kremlin in Moscow, according to the president's office, who also confirmed that the Russian leader's schedule was not affected. We consider this a pre-planned terrorist action and an attempt against the Russian president, it added. The incident happened ahead of Victory Day and the parade on May 9th, when foreign guests plan to be present. Russia reserves the right to retaliate in a manner, place, and time of its choosing, the statement noted. And we'll actually be getting to that right here. Got me a sip of coffee. Ah, my batteries are dead. How dare you? Greta, hurry up! Shovel some more coal into the power plant. So I can vape my chemicals and further pollute the air. Now what the hell? Now it works. Pink Starburst. Yum, yum, yum. Wait. Did I even get into that last one? No, I didn't, because I'm a tard. Russia warns of retaliation for Ukrainian attack on Kremlin. Russia reserves the right to retaliate anywhere and any time it deems necessary in response to the drone attack on President Vladimir Putin's residence, the Kremlin has said. Officials claim 2 Ukrainian drones attempted to strike the Kremlin early on Wednesday morning, but the raid was thwarted. The president was not hurt in the terrorist attack, and the Kremlin complex did not suffer any damage, Putin's office said. Putin's spokesman Dmitry Peskov told RIA Novosti that the Russian leader was not in the Kremlin when the raid happened. He added that Putin was working at his Novo-Ogaryovo residence near Moscow on Wednesday. The attack took place as Russia prepares for Victory Day celebrations on May 9, the centerpiece of the commemoration of the victory against Nazi Germany and its allies in World War II is the annual military parade on Red Square, just outside the Kremlin walls. Putin and other top officials, as well as foreign guests, will attend the event. Peskov said the parade would take place as scheduled. I would say keep your eye on that parade. Because if Zelensky or any... Ooh. Okay. This is breaking. Clearly breaking. Hang on. Blast reported across Ukraine. See, I kind of told you. Ukrainian media reported a series of explosions in the capital and several other cities, with air defenses activated to repel alleged Russian drone and missile attacks on Thursday morning. See? I told you he was going to go after Kiev. Several blasts were heard in Kiev after the city's administration warned the residents of an incoming attack around 2 a.m. local time, according to news agency UNIAN. At the same time, at least explosions blasts were heard in Odessa. I think that's wrote wrong. News agency RBC Ukraine reports. Local residents shared unconfirmed photos and videos of purported strikes on Telegram. Calls on the public to heed warnings about missile threats have also come from Nikolai, Poltava, Chernigov, Sumy, Kharkov, and I can't say that one, regions, among others. I guess I don't know if that's a video, picture, or what. We're going to find out. I think it's just a picture. So... Oops. The Russian Defense Ministry has so far not commented on the alleged strikes. The reported strikes come after Ukraine allegedly launched 2 drone attacks intended to strike Russian President Putin's Kremlin residence. The aircraft were downed using electronic warfare measures and did not cause any casualties, blah, blah, blah. So anyway, this is the response that I had spoke about just a little bit ago. So, I guess that now makes this article a bit outdated. Funny how that happens. You know, Zelensky's dumb enough to fall for that Wagner trick. You know that. He's dumb enough to do it. Walk right into a trap. He's such a moron. Top Russian MP calls for use of weapons capable of destroying Kiev regime. Senior Russian lawmaker Vyacheslav Volodin, and I'm sure I got both of those wrong, has called on Moscow to use any weapons necessary to remove the Nazi regime in Kiev. The comments followed a failed Ukrainian drone attack on the Kremlin that allegedly targeted President Vladimir Putin in the early hours of Wednesday morning. The terrorist attack against the president is an attack on Russia, Volodin, who serves as State Duma chairman, said in a Telegram post. Vladimir Zelensky, who gave orders to carry out terrorist attacks, now stands on par with other international terrorists, he added, referring to the Ukrainian president. Volodin claimed that the government in Kiev is as dangerous as groups such as Al-Qaeda and Islamic State. You know, ISIS. He further alleged that Ukraine's criminal methods have become evident to the entire world, accusing it of tactics including nuclear blackmail, the assassination of public and political figures, the sabotage of civilian infrastructure, and attempts on Putin's life. The Kiev terrorist regime have seized an entire state, threatens the security of Russia, Europe, and the whole world, the Duma official added. He insisted that Western nations, which are pumping Zelensky's government with weapons, are now direct accomplices to terrorist activities. And I would have to agree about this being deemed a terrorist attack based on one important factor. Ukraine denies involvement. So if you attack someone but you don't want them to know that it was you that attacked, that's a terrorist attack. Plain and simple. That's a terrorist attack. Because when people don't know who, why, when, or where, that's terrorism. When you make people fear that way, that's terrorism. This is insane. Again, I don't really think this will continue beyond fall. I really don't. I think it'll be wrapped up by then. We'll see. The U.S. announces another arms package for Ukraine. Because, y'all didn't... You haven't had enough of paying for their war yet, have you? No. I mean, hell, you paid for 20 years of war in the Middle East. You got to be good for at least 15 here, right? Pentagon announced a $300 million arms package for Ukraine on Wednesday ahead of a long-promised spring offensive by Kiev's forces. Ammunition shortages are reportedly plaguing the Ukrainian military, however, and the latest aid package will likely do little to alleviate the problem. The package is the 37th tranche of military aid doled out to Ukraine by the U.S. since August 2021. It brings to more than $35.7 billion the total amount of military aid doled out to Kiev by Washington since Russia's military operation in Ukraine began last February. According to a statement from the Pentagon, the package includes ammunition for Ukraine's American-provided HIMARS rocket artillery systems, 155mm howitzers and artillery rounds, mortar rounds, wire-guided missiles, I could use some of those, shoulder-fired anti-tank missiles, few of those too, and Hydra 70 rockets. Load the hell of those up. Most commonly fired from attack helicopters. Of course, I'll need a couple of those. How about a Cobra and Apache? Like one of each, because you don't want to have too many of one thing. Give me a Cobra and an Apache. Of course, I got to have a Black Hawk, right? And just for practice sake, throw in a couple of Sikorskis, make it happen. Beam it down, Scotty. Let's see. So, here's the deal. We're paying for more crap. Paying for more crap. That's all they had to do. You're paying for more crap. They could have put that as the title, and they wouldn't have had to write an article. You're paying for more crap. Got it. UK military woefully underprepared for war, says retired general. That's because your dudes are putting on like high heels and shit too, man. So, hey. How do you put your war face on when it's lipstick, right? I mean, that's not really the kind of war face that you're looking for, is it? I mean, that's kind of like the LA street war face, not really like, Vietnam trench war face. There's a little bit of a difference. Anyway, Britain's... I'm just going on and acting like an idiot. Diversify. That's right, I need to be more diverse. I'm going to identify... What am I going to identify as? Oh, hell. I don't even know anything good to identify as at the moment. I had something the other day. What was it? I might as well stick with the same thing. I can't remember what it was, though. It was some kind of nonsense I decided to identify as, and can't remember what it is, though. Nobody will buy it. I don't, I feel so oppressed. Britain's military would run out of ammunition within 22 hours of combat in the event of a war, retired General Rupert Jones has told Sky News. Previous estimates have put the number even lower. Speaking to Jones on Wednesday evening, Sky News presenter Kay Burley said that she had been told our entire supply of ammunition here in the UK could be used up in something like 22 hours if there was a war like we've seen in Ukraine. Let's see. Yes, Jones confirmed. The UK and many of our allies are woefully underprepared, and we need to commit far more money into these sorts of ammunition stocks. It also tells you that the huge amounts of ammunition that are being expended in Ukraine, he added, citing figures from a British think tank that put Kiev's consumption of artillery shells at between 4,000 and 7,000 per day, and Russia's at 20,000. It is unclear how many artillery rounds or other kinds of ammunition that the UK keeps in its stockpiles at any one time. However, Jones' use of the consumption in Ukraine as a benchmark for a modern conflict suggests that the number lies anywhere between 4,000 and 20,000. There's just a little difference between the two numbers. I mean, little bit. I don't know, we're like 16,000 rounds short, Captain. I don't know where they went. Don't look in my lunchbox. South American nations seek to avoid dollar. This is becoming an issue. The presidents of Argentina and Brazil have announced plans to continue working on the development of a mechanism allowing them to avoid the U.S. dollar in bilateral trade. Crisis-hit Argentina is seeking to rebuild its reserves to cover trade costs and future debt repayments as a key component of a major debt deal with international creditors. Brazilian President Luiz Inácio Lula da Silva and his Argentinian counterpart Alberto Fernandez, that one's a little easier, were expected this week to reveal the new mechanism allowing Argentine firms to continue trading with Brazil without draining dollars from the country's reserves. However, the leaders announced following a meeting on Tuesday that the plan still needed to be fine-tuned. The meeting was a long, difficult, and we will carry out many more meetings, Lula said alongside Fernandez, as quoted by the Associated Press. I made a commitment to my friend Alberto Fernandez that I will do every and any sacrifice so we can help Argentina in this difficult moment. The proposed scheme reportedly includes a line of credit to finance Brazilian businesses that export to Argentina, aimed at avoiding the use of U.S. dollars in settlements. According to Brazilian Finance Minister Fernando Haddad, the two nations are studying possible guarantees in order for Brazil's government to provide financing. They made the decision to help make sure that Brazilian companies continue exporting to Argentina, and they had asked us to do some homework, which we have already done, and have to do with the necessary guarantees, Fernandez said. He added that the economy ministry officials will be meeting their Brazilian counterparts next week to discuss the details. So, you're going to see lots and lots of this happening very quickly. Because they know what's coming. The writing's on the wall. It really, truly is. Does any of these folks learn? Do they know what a learning curve is? Pentagon used drag influencer to attract recruits. Really? I don't know what to think. What I know is that the entire West, if you will, is depleting its fuel resources, depleting its ammunition resources, depleting about every resource that they can think to deplete. At a time when those nations that at least we're told we should be concerned about keep building and building and building. I just can't believe for a second that this is just chaos in action. There is just too many damn things for this just to be happenstance. And one thing is for certain. It's global. It is absolutely global. All right. Got some headlines. Oh, man. Oh, yeah, Navy always been a... Well, you know, you can only swab the deck so many times before, you know, Bubba brings it home. Of course, I can't speak too much because my brother spent a lot of time with the Navy. He was a Marine, though, so I know. He was part of the Navy. I know. That's like a fighting topic for Marines. Yeah. It's a good thing I didn't go into the military. It's a really good thing. There are some people that can't be broken. And there are some people that will go to the extent of death to prove it if they have to. I'm one of them. I wouldn't have did well in the military. It would have been bad. I'd been spending, if I wasn't executed, I'd been spending the rest of my life behind bars. I guarantee it. Guarantee it. Let's see. U.S. boosts military presence at border. Adidas mole selling Russian business, says Commerçant. Russia to resume yuan purchases, says Bloomberg. Fire at Crimean Bridge oil depot, says governor. Ukraine keeping West in the dark on counteroffensive plans, says Politico. Of course they're going to say that. German-made howitzer struggling in Ukrainian mud, says New York Times. Ukrainian hitman busted in Crimea, says FSB. Right on, brother. Thank you for your service. Let's see. Zelensky admits Pentagon leaks setback. 9 killed in Belgrade school shooting, says police. Biden rival pledges to pardon Assange. That would be Robert Kennedy Jr. Kiev admits to issues with Western weapons. Asian nations sign pact to shift away from dollar. A NATO applicant refuses to participate in bloc's war games. U.S. elites drew up plan to split Russia, says security chief. My brother was a radio operator, so that kind of gives you a little bit of an idea about his attitude. I'm sure you know what that means. That, you know. Life expectancy of a radio operator isn't super long. NATO applicant... Oh, actually, I read that one. U.S. elites drew up plan to split Russia, says security chief. Ukraine launched drones targeting Kremlin, says Moscow. Russian oil shipments up despite production cut, says Bloomberg. I don't know where I got cup from. Read, damn it, read. Moscow bans the use of drones. Nearly half of Britain's Commonwealth realms want to ditch monarchy, says a poll. I can imagine. Putin unhurt by drone attack, says Kremlin. Russia warns of retaliation for Ukrainian attack. Oh, I read that one. Video purports to show Ukrainian drone attack on Kremlin. Oh, I hear you. EU faces winter gas price surge, says Bloomberg. I wonder why. Investor panic hits U.S. bank stocks. UK, covered that one. NATO plans to open office in Japan, says media. Roger. Yeah, he kind of... My brother certainly had a fuck it kind of attitude. He's a trip. Let's see. I will sell rillets on Red Square if I wish, says former French PM. Well, you do that. EU turning into straitjacket for Sweden, says party leader. Prominent opposition figure sentenced in Belarus. Kiev claims ignorance of attempt on Putin's life. War in Asia would radically change the world, says Singapore. Iran seizes another oil tanker. South American nations... Oh, I covered that one. Kennedy shares opinion on key U.S. mistake with Russia. I agree. Let's see. Covered all those. Russian bank could be restored to SWIFT, says Turkey. Iranian president in Syria in first visit since war. Mass arrests made in Italian mafia raids. Ex-Russian president urges physical removal of Zelensky. Let's see. Star devours planet and glimpse into Earth's eventual fate. Well, that's a happy topic. Serbia proposes strict gun and media controls after school shooting. Gun and media controls. EU bans Ukraine grain exports to 5 members. U.S. is not encouraging attacks on Russian territory, says the White House. Right. U.S. announces... Oh, I covered that. Russian ally calls on U.S. to review sanctions policy. Republicans demand FBI record on alleged Biden quid pro quo. Good luck with that. U.S. Embassy in Ukraine fears missile attacks. And that is it. That is it. Fun, fun, fun. That's going to do it for us. Thank goodness. I don't know. It just seems like a lot of crazy news. Really, truly does. So, I think that's kind of why I'm looking actually forward to this weekend coming up, the days off, because, man, that's just, the news doesn't get me down, but it does put me on a little bit of an edge, especially when I see certain bits happen here and there. There's little bits of information I have that I can't share. It's not looking real good. Just keep getting ready. That's the most important thing that I can tell people to do is keep getting ready. Be thankful for every day that you can work towards more preparedness, because one of these days that's going to come to an end. What we got is what we got. So keep at it. Make sure you got as much as you can. Anyway, I'm going to get off of here. I hope you all have a great evening. God willing, we'll be back tomorrow, and I hope to see you then. I appreciate you coming tonight. And as always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.